Meeting will come to order, please. As usual, welcome everybody. We're going to start with public comment. If anybody has a comment they'd like to address the board, raise your hand, I'll recognize it. Come to the podium and you have 3 minutes to almost say anything you want to say. Any takers? Jim? Okay.
3 minutes. Jim Banks, Carpenter Lane. I want to talk a little about the fuel bid. We talked about that, I believe, 2 sessions ago. And there was some concern at the time that the propane bidding might cause the collaborative to break up and buy it separately. And the select board made the decision, I totally agree with it, to rebid it so that the bidding could be not just the collaborative price for everybody, but individuals in the event that they did not all go together. But that discussion and everything certainly caused me to be distracted, and maybe the members of the board were distracted too, because the bidding also included oils, the diesel fuel and the heating oil, and there wasn't any ambiguity about that. That was clearly defined, but the board did not recognize that that was something that should be done, and I believe you should make a choice with the bidding that has now taken place with that, rather than rebid that. It is set up now to be rebid, but there isn't any difference. Well, I guess there is a difference, because everybody bidding now knows how much everybody else bid. And my guess is that the higher bids won't bother to bid again, because they know what they're bidding against. And the low bid might not be quite so low a second time around. So I respectfully urge you to take the bids that exist, take the choice that you want, and sign a contract with them, and not rebid it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on. Arthur Bradbury, Solid Waste Advisory Committee application. Is Mr. Bradbury here?
I saw him today, and he said he was going to be here, so it might just be running a little late.
Okay, we'll just, we'll move on to Camellia Knightley, Recreation Commission application.
Do I have it? Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm not Camilla.
I knew that. Well,
I'd like to present to the Select Board Camilla Knightley, who has applied to join our merry little troop on the Rec Commission. We've tried to dissuade her in every possible way, but we cannot seem to do that. So she is determined to come aboard with us and help us out with the Rec Commission.
So you are now a merry little troop?
I guess so.
Oh, just wanted to be sure I had it right.
Robin's look here. So I don't know if you folks have any questions for Camilla, but we'd like to get her on the commission.
Okay, anybody?
I noticed you said you have fundraising experience. What kind of fundraising? Curious.
In a previous position I had, like professionally, so I work in social work as like a preface. Part of my previous position was fundraising and networking. We were one of the biggest in-home care providers in the state of New Hampshire, and we often held different trainings and staff appreciation events, and it was my responsibility to contact all the local businesses to get different donations, different things we could raffle off, and in the course of doing all that, I think one year I raised like $12,000 in donations. So that's a little bit.
It sounds good. We could use a person like that. I'm open.
Yeah, okay,
Let's do it.
well, we have a motion? We do.
I move to appoint Camellia Knightley to, it's Camellia, right?
Yep.
Knightley to Recreation Commission.
Did you second it? All in favor?
Aye.
Hey, you're there.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. That wasn't too bad, was it?
Now you gotta work.
The only thing,
Shall we go? What's
Camilla,
Yes.
don't forget to go to the town clerk and get sworn in.
Yep. Thank you.
I noticed that.
Next, Randy Stevens, Highway Supervisor.
So I figured this would be the last time you have to put up with me as highway supervisor at the board of selectmen meeting. So I'm here to try to figure out what we're gonna do about paving. Is there an extra sheet here? No, I got one, oh, yeah, I have one over, I thought there might be. I thought I had one over here.
Oh. What do you mean?
I guess I'm good. I can start right out with a handout, I guess, and we'll go to the paving. So I had a few goals before I leave on the 27th. How many I complete, I do not know, but I thought I'd share what I was trying to do. Trying to update the inventory of all the assets, which would be the equipment, trucks, power equipment, all that kind of tools, all that kind of stuff. It hasn't been updated for a couple of years. Also want to update the culvert basin inventory. I don't have some of the new roads on, but I've been working on it. It's pretty much all the culverts, all the 250 culverts in town or whatever. There's an inventory of that. Road inventory, I pretty much got that done today with the road name changes. Cemetery book. See, that's a page that's all I had. I guess I didn't bring it. Anyway, the cemetery book, unfortunately, is only one copy of it. It's what I write all the burials in. Many moons ago, I did it on the computer. I was going to show you a copy, but I guess I didn't bring it. But basically, I've been writing them in for the last 10 years, and I haven't put it in the computer, so that all needs to be updated. It's probably 125 burials that need to be entered in. Something I sort of devised as a spreadsheet, divided into 12 boxes. Each grave is a box, and write in the burial information. So that'll probably be something I'll have to take home and do.
Do the cemetery trustees have a copy of that? Or?
No, unfortunately, there's no copy, and that's one reason I'm trying to get it on the computer. So, you know, what's that?
Hello. Is that what I do?
You do a database,
Yeah.
and I also do a database, and I also do try to get the obituary for each burial and put that into the copy of the burial permit. So I keep that in the office. Denise also keeps a database. Every time I do a burial permit, turn it in, and then it goes to the town clerk. So hopefully, between all of us, nobody gets lost. But so anyway, but I am behind on entering that stuff in, and the book needs to be cleaned up a little bit, and also another copy of it made. Because if something happened to it, it wouldn't be good. I got several hundred pictures I've taken of work we've done over the years, a lot on Little River Park. I'd like to put together kind of a CD of Little River Park. Probably be a homework project as well. Other construction, pretty much got construction all along, from installing playground equipment to building the parking lot to you name it. I clean up the files in the cabinet and computer. I don't know how far I'll get in that. I would like to get the culverts on Thompson Mill installed, but we're still waiting on the wetland permit. I don't know what the whole up is on that. The fellow who had to do it's called, and he hasn't got an answer either, so. So if we don't get the permits, we have the pipes all ready to go. We've called Dig Safe, so all we need is a wetland permit. I'm trying to do up a work list. Julie asked me to do up one for the next 6 months. I don't know if I'll get it that far, but I pretty much got a spreadsheet started. I got 11 categories, I think, from Little River Park to stuff we do in the transfer station to equipment, to you name it. And I will forward you all a copy of that when I get it done. If I do. I'd like to get roadside mowing done and get ready for phase 2 paving, depending on what you say tonight. So recommendations. I believe the board shouldn't rule out used trucks and equipment for the highway department. I'm not saying that we should buy used, I'm just saying we shouldn't just say new trucks only. I'll get into that a little further on the Western Star down the bottom. I think if possible, the highway supervisor should operate one of the small trucks in the winter instead of a big truck like I've done. Kerry can probably verify he rode to me. The truck is pretty noisy, it's hard to communicate with over the radio or by phone. It's hard to get it off the side of the road, it's big. And you're pretty busy. You know, where a smaller truck, I think you could run around town and troubleshoot a lot better. But that all depends on getting enough CDL drivers. I think they should up the CDL part-time plow drivers rate to an average of the regular and the overtime rate of the full-time CDL drivers. And they still, it doesn't amount to that much money because it's not that many hours that the part-time people put in. But I think it might be a little easier to get them and a little fairer. If the full-time people are getting overtime out at night and they're getting benefits and the part-time CDL drivers aren't getting a fraction of that and no benefits, it's not real fair, doing the same job. I think the current CDL plow drivers should somehow be known that they are appreciated. The changes in the department forthcoming, I think we ought to implement some policies, which we've never really had to, but I think it's a good idea to do it. It's been on my list, just never got it done, such as inclement weather policy, which is a good idea for liability. Trenching policy, we have none. Standard operating procedures, we have none. Mailbox policy, we have none. And really a training policy, we have none. Try to keep the operation as basic as possible, focusing on road maintenance first, and then all these other little things this time establishes. Establish some way of sharing the on-call responsibility between the supervisor and the second in command. Because I live close, and I don't have a life, I've always been able to respond when called, but it appears that not everybody likes to do that nowadays, so I think it would be, me and myself, if I had, I think the second command should be able to somehow, he has to get a little stipend or something, you know, a weekend once in a while to cover. It's not going to be a big storm. Once paving is done, I think we should concentrate on some tree and brush work and some ditching. State of the department. The pavement, the roads are in pretty good shape pavement-wise. I think you can notice there's only a few of them, and the paving that we've got scheduled gets done. I think they're going to be in real good shape. Tree work, brush cutting, and ditching are falling a little bit behind. Not terrible, but some. Equipment's all in decent shape. I wouldn't have any worries for anybody getting through the next winter with it. Buildings are good and sound. They need some cosmetic care. Some of the steel's getting run into and whatever. It just doesn't look good. And the aging staff will be an issue soon. So the challenges, knotweed and other invasive plants. The knotweed's becoming a real problem for us because we can't transport it. And we get transported. And we got several ditches that are really bad, and it's we'll try to get hold of the state person and see what we can do about that. But that's certainly getting to be a big problem, the knotweed. Although we're pretty fortunate. We don't have too many spots, but it's a problem. Mostly Stepping Stone Road would be the worst one. Snell Road has some. Another challenge is going to be the difficulty finding CDL drivers and trying to obey all the rules and regulations that keep coming down and increase traffic. A lot of places we need work zone. Traffic control, if you got 3 people, you got 2 of them flagging, doesn't only leave 1 person to work. So, kind of an update on the truck. The Western Star went to Maine today. The dealer came down to try to, it's the same hydraulic problem, we've had with it right along, and they haven't really been able to put their fingers on it, but they think they have a solution now, but they really wanted the truck back to do it, and there's some plumbing they're going to straighten out, a few other things, so hopefully they get it straightened out, because long ways to, it's a long ways to Lewiston. In my wildest dreams, I never thought I'd be going back even once, I'm not saying that, about 2 or 3 times. I guess it's only gone back twice, really. But the FEMA grant got denied, you may have seen that in the e-crier update blurb. It was, there's a point system. I did bring a copy of that. I'll pass this around, but if you look at the criteria, it's a scorecard, so to speak, how you rate. And the thing that kind of hurt us is a sub-applicant in the declared disaster area. And for this grant, we were outside the disaster area, so we didn't have, you know, if it was extra money, we would have had a chance, but, so they give you 5 points for that, we got 0 points, so that brought us down. Evidently, those 3 finalists, Lee was number 3. So again, we come close, but the other thing that hurts us a little bit is when it floods, there's no real monetary damage there. It floods, it closes the road off, when the water goes down, everything's the way it was before it flooded, so if we had a good washout, we could spend $25,000 to fix it, it would put us a little bit higher up on the score. But there's another one, don't give up yet, there's another one coming in September, we have to have a letter of intent in by September, so it's the same application, and really there shouldn't be hardly any additional work to apply for it, so I guess I would recommend we do that. And let's see, wetland permit, I just said we're waiting on that and Clement Way entrance, where we go into Rita Lane. We've had quite a few complaints about that over the years of water sits there. If you notice, after it's rained, between 125 and Clement Way, and the homeowners have gone to the state and haven't got anywhere. I went to the state and we've been going back and forth, but I think they finally have come up. I applied for a driveway permit to fix it, and I think we finally come up with a solution. Which includes repaving it and kind of filling in where the water sits, and hoping there's enough ditch along 125 that'll take care of it. Well, I don't know, can't do anything till the permit comes, whether I'll have time to do that or not. So that's about that on that. That was what I was looking for, yeah. This is the cemetery thing I do, and like you see, I've written a lot in, but I have to go back and, but it's a pretty good record, except when you get 2 or 3 cremations, you can't fit all the information. So I think what I have to do on a grave that has 2 or 3 or more cremations, I gotta have a separate sheet with just this with one grave, and then list them all in there. Anyway, I just brought that in so you know what's going on.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
After the 27th, do we as a town have to appoint somebody to be the road agent? Don't we have to have one?
I don't think you have to have one. Not even
So
allowed one
who's-
for quite a while.
So who's gonna fulfill that capacity, and don't we have to decide who? Because there's certain things the road agent has to do.
Now, Julie's not here, so we can nominate her.
Okay.
No, I don't know. I mean, I don't think you actually have to have one. One of the selectmen could be it for temporary, I think.
I'm just asking, I don't know the answer to the question.
I don't either, but I know a lot of towns go without them. I know Barnstead's without one now. I mean,
Okay.
it happens nowadays.
Okay.
It is a question that might have to be answered.
So after the 27th, who's in charge of the highway department? Do we need to appoint somebody to?
There's not a wide choice.
Who's the, I understand that, but who's the go-to person if we need something? Is it going to be Warren? Is it going to be Pete?
Well, Pete's Warren's the assistant,
Okay, so it'll.
Yeah, it's gonna be people.
but, you know, I'm more than willing to come in part-time and do what you need to do if you want me to. If you don't, I'm more than willing to not come in. I'm pretty flexible.
Flexible, that's good to know.
I haven't made any plans for retirement, so I'm kind of waiting, taking a day at a time, trying to get through the last 2 weeks here. Do everything I gotta do. So it certainly is a worrisome thing, I'm sure, but if it's
Well, I think it's fair to say, Randy, that one, of course, we appreciate what you just said, and two, I'm sure we're gonna have to get together with you and put something together until we can find a adequate replacement.
You know, once the town's actively looking for somebody, I'll do what I have to do within my 32-hour zone. I can't work 132, or at least I can't say I work 132.
You can't.
You can't. You saying that for Julie?
Make sure that's in the notes.
So, I'll have a good list together for the crew that they'll be able to work, and get quite a few things done, but like the culverts, you know, you can't do it two people. I'm more than willing to come in and help with that, it's whatever the board wants. You know, the 30th, when you meet next, we can talk about it, if you want me to do something, figure out where we're at then, but, I mean, I won't have the official capacity that I do now, but that'll be fine. You know, we work pretty good as a team at the shop now, and I don't see why it couldn't continue.
Well, we have a motion pending here that talks about doing the roads, et cetera, which would also, I mean, you would be here doing that work, you could assume some of this other stuff too, just as far as questions and answers and so on. So, I mean, it's not like you disappear.
Somebody calls me up, wants to know the answer to something, that's free. I mean, there's no, you know, any administration can call me up and say, hey, you know.
8 to 5?
No.
No, I'm joking.
No, anytime. I tell everybody daylight hours.
Daylight hours, there you go.
Call me before dawn, don't call me after dusk. Those days are over. So anyway, because the cost of paving went up,
Yes.
and because we didn't know what it was, we kind of overbooked, so to speak, the roads, we have a little bit of a dilemma. We have to delete somebody. So I guess I'll give you, the price that was bid was $65.50 a ton, and when we did phase one, the price had already gone up $2.80 a ton, which made it $68.30. So last year, it's mostly based on liquid asphalt index. And that's the most expensive part of the hot top. Last year at this time, it was $410 a ton. This year, right now, it's $540. So it's gone up. Since last year at this time, it's gone up 24%, which is pretty significant. From the time we went out to bid, which it was $485, now it's $540, it's gone up 10%. And, you know, they keep saying, well, it's gonna go up, but when I looked today, the last 3 or 4 weeks, it stayed pretty stable. So that was sort of, you know, I don't know how long you wanna put this off, you know, whether you want somebody else to deal with it, you want me to deal with it, or whatever. But I kind of can start out, the phase one cost $127,000 and some change. We took $78,000 out of the last year's 17-18 budget, and we took $49,589 out of the SB 38 funds. So we had $95,360 in the SB 38 funds, which were the state funds. And we take out the 49, gives us 45,000. I thought probably we should do something else with that besides pave that money. I've seen it probably the only time we'll ever see it. So I saved out 20,000 for tree and culvert work, and which leaves a balance towards paving of 25,770. And then the 18-19 paving line items 175. Again, I thought we ought to save out 20,000 in case there's something, want to do some crack sealing, or you get a bad spot in the spring you gotta fix, or whatever. I didn't think we ought to cut it right out, use the whole amount this early in the budget season. So the total available for paving is roughly $187.70. So if you do all the roads we had on the list, and the transfer station, the highway comes to $220. So we're about 40,000 short. So number one, I also did a little more refiguring on Pinkham Road. We reconstructed, 2 years ago, we reconstructed that, so it was about 500 feet. So that really doesn't have to be done, so I took that 500 feet off, which saves about $7,100. So we take the $7,100 off of number one, we come out 178, so we got it covered. And I also upped the price to 70 a ton, just to cover any potential increase. So that's the easiest thing to do. And it'd be nice if we could kind of go with figure as we went along and say, well, if we got enough money, we'll do this. But the problem comes is you gotta cut joints, butt joints on the beginning of the road at the intersections, or in the transfer station, every pull off and everything, you gotta cut a joint. That's where the problem comes with trying to go along as you want, and see how you go. But, so number two is delete Pinkham Road East. It comes out about the same amount of money. It kind of seems too bad to do Pinkham West and not East, and seems like they should be done together. Pinkham West definitely needs it. It's pretty bad shape. We have it all ditched. It's all ready to go. Thompson Mill Road, there's another one that would bring you about where you want to be if you deleted that. That road's in pretty rough shape. I guess it depends somewhat on the culverts, whether they get in or not in time. Number four would be to delete Pinkham West transfer station, the highway. I don't think I'd recommend that one. Number five, delete Lamprey Lane, which brings you right in the neighborhood again, especially if you save a little bit on Pinkham East. So, but Lamprey Lane's been 11 years. I think it's going to suffer if it doesn't get done. We put the 3 culverts in there, so it's kind of a tough choice. Like I said, the easiest thing to do is to delete the transfer station and the highway and just try to fix up the highway, do a little shimming on the highway department to get by another year. So, which would bring us into the figure we're looking at.
My feeling is go with the number one.
Yep. And can we kind of wing it in terms of, you and I talked about the transfer station, they're doing some things in there, so we might not want to do that, but if we have extra money when you get done, depending on what the price per ton is, can we maybe do the highway department?
Yeah, there again, it's cutting the joints where the problem is.
Okay.
They normally don't. I mean, it's for the paving company, it's kind of a pain for them to come back after. They like to cut all the joints when they're here, obviously, and then go to the next job. So that would be a problem, but I can certainly talk to them and see if, or we could have them cut the joints at the highway, and if we don't do it, we just fill them back in with the coal patch.
The only other concern I have is Thompson Mill, we're replacing those culverts. I'd rather replace the culverts and then pave it instead of doing it the other way around.
Right, obviously, yeah.
So-
Yeah, we wouldn't do it. If we can't get the culverts in, but I would think we'd get that permit soon.
Okay.
It's supposed to be 30 days, unless they change, I don't know what the holdup is. I assume a lot of them are on vacation up to DES. I think that's maybe the problem, but Mr. Powell has called and he hasn't got an answer. And there's a query that I look almost every day on that it still says under technical review. Or we can always table the whole thing, let somebody else deal with it.
No, I think we'll let you deal with it. How's that? Why don't you go out with a bang? How's that?
There you go.
I think we'll go with number one.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's good. Yep. So I'm going to enter a motion, authorize the highway supervisor to plan and prep roads according to Phase 2, Plan 1, as per attached spreadsheet in his remaining days as highway supervisor, or table the subject until a new highway supervisor is appointed, but we're going to remove that and we'll go as per attached spreadsheet in his remaining days as highway supervisor.
I'll second that.
Last year, I thought I wasn't gonna have to do any of this. Thought the paving last year was the last of it.
Oh, sorry.
It's stressful, but we can handle it again. Like I said, it's
Second, okay. Motion passes?
No, we haven't.
Oh, we haven't done a vote? All in favor?
Yes.
Mr. Bud?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Number one.
okay, thank you. So, as I said, if, we get to the next Board of Selectmen meeting, and you'll have a better idea where you sit at that point, and we can discuss what to do next.
We appreciate it.
Not going anywhere, we're still down the
You
road.
know where you are.
So next on the agenda is Toby Van Aiken, he's not here.
Two,
Can you go to Bradbury? He's
Three.
here. Mr. Bradbury.
Three.
Okay,
Yeah, go back to 3.
go back to 3. Arthur Bradbury, Solid Waste Advisory Committee, that's, why,
Mr. Bradbury's here to be on the committee. He's here to introduce himself.
Take the podium, please.
please.
So what are you looking for?
You wanna,
Well, let's just discuss that. What you can do for us is join the Solid Waste Advisory Committee and help us figure out in the long term where we should go with that.
Sounds like a good idea to me.
Good, I'm glad you agree.
I've been a long proponent of doing something about this. I just bought 5 of my women relatives' bracelets for 4 Ocean. Have you heard of it?
No, I have not.
Look it up on Google.
Okay, I will.
And they're addressing plastic in the oceans.
Mhm.
And they're actually, they take out boatfuls of people with nets and they collect plastic. And they're actually boats that have their own, like seines, and they go out and pick up plastic, and people go out on beaches and they pay for these, some of these professional seamen to take people out.
well, I'm boycotting plastic straws, so.
There we go.
Yeah, so. It's a little
No,
piece.
and I think it's important that we use everything we can to recycle. Here's something for you to think about. How about banning plastic bags in the town of Lee?
Oh. I'm glad you're gonna be on the committee. We're gonna take a lot of advice.
Well, San Francisco's done
Yeah.
it, and of course, there weren't a lot of people who were particularly happy about it, but nobody asked them. And as far as I don't care whether they like it or not.
Well, I'm not sure I join you in the I don't care whether they like it or not part, but I mean, certainly something to look at.
Well, we're making another step. When you look at all the thousands of plastic bags that go out of Market Basket every week.
No, I absolutely.
And it took me, I don't know how many years of the the canvas and whatever bags sitting in the back of my car before I remembered sticking them in.
I know exactly what you mean. Denise, how many people on the committee now?
We just got another application, I got it today,
Okay.
and she's coming in July 30th, so we have 5 now.
We'll have 5, so we'll have a formal committee at that time.
That's what Denise said. Sounds good.
Okay, therefore, I recommend that Arthur Bradbury be appointed a member of the Solid Waste Advisory Committee.
Second.
When do we do, I'm out of order here in that this has a swearing in part.
We don't do that.
So-
We just appoint.
We just appoint.
Okay,
So there's a first and second.
all in favor? Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, you've been appointed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You gotta get sworn in.
When's our first real meeting?
Just go see the clerk at the town hall, go see the clerk Monday, Wednesday, or Friday to get sworn in.
Oh,
And
okay.
then once the last person comes in, we'll let you know.
Decide,
Yeah.
okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for volunteering.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So we'll move on to item 7, Denise DeVal, Town Secretary.
Uh-oh. Big time stuff.
Yes, in Lamprey River. It's very sad to announce that Sharon Meeker has resigned from another committee, the Lamprey River Advisory Committee. And we've got the formal letter, as you saw in your packet, from the Department of Environmental Services, that they're looking for a recommendation from the board for her replacement.
So can we put something in the ear choir?
Absolutely,
If anybody's
yes.
interested. Was there a recommendation from the committee in terms of anybody that they thought would be, because they have to be from Lee,
Yes,
Yeah,
they
so-
did not make a recommendation there. They were asking the board, usually the board, someone from the town makes a recommendation.
But could you ask Sharon then just to give us if she has a recommendation?
Yes.
Okay, could you do that, please? And then, we can still put it in the e-crier as well, but it'd be nice to have a former member who's well aware of what's going on. She might have somebody in mind who has a vested.
Is Sharon the only person from Lee that was on, is there just one?
There's somebody
No.
else. I
Um,
don't remember.
oh, why did you have, I had his name in my mind just now, and he is going to be leaving the committee as well in a few months, so we'll have another person
Oh, I see.
that we will need to replace.
So,
Okay, so we just need to get the word out that we need some volunteers to
be a member of
to
the.
go on, to represent us on the Lamprey River Advisory Committee.
Yes. It actually doesn't say.
We can put that in the crier and maybe put a separate notice up on the bulletin board in the transfer station, on the TV. Okay? Go down to the consent agenda. So I'd just like to enter a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
Can I get a second? Thank you. Any kind of discussion?
No discussion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes. John? Any miscellaneous?
Oh, hold on.
Where are we?
There's many.
Huh?
There's many things to say.
Oh, we got many things
Many
to
things
sign,
to
I'm
sign.
sorry.
A little bit too enthusiastic.
So this is a denial.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ron? I do have one thing I'd like to mention. While Randy is still here, I was watching a show on TV the other night, and it showed a swing for handicapped children. Two things. One, a swing that accepts a wheelchair with a handicapped child, and/or a swing that will accept a child that is paralyzed. I'm a big fan of Little River Park. And I think it would be nice if we could make Little River Park a little bit more friendly to children that are affected. They can't take advantage of the swings even though we have many different kinds. And I would like us to see if Randy or the town administrator could look into what the cost would be to put in 1 or 2 swings that are, if you would, applicable to handicapped children.
I think we have that.
You do?
I think so.
It doesn't take a wheelchair, it's just a strapped, it's like a chair, and it's got a strap around it, but it's, I don't know, it certainly doesn't take, a wheelchair, you have to have a transfer from the wheelchair to it.
Yeah, this one actually, the wheelchair rolls up on the swing
Right.
and locks in place, and then the child can swing.
It's like a swinging platform.
Yeah, it's like a platform.
Because we had, the chief's wife at the time came and gave us some guidance on what to put down there for handicapped kids. That was 4 years ago. Something like that. Yeah.
Well, I just thought it'd be worthwhile to look and see what it would cost to maybe put in some facility that was a little bit more receptive to,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Good grief. Okay, what did I miss? Anything?
Yes, Denise.
Huh? Good
That's
afternoon.
to,
That's Denise.
So far, we're good.
Huh? We okay?
We're good.
I'll separate, let's see, let me move this over.
Can I make a motion to adjourn?
oh,
Oh,
not that
no,
good.
I know, I
Not
know.
that
Not that good.
That's all right.
Not that
Took a shot.
Gotta sign that, though.
Okay. I thought I already did.
Manifest.
Did I sign that?
Nope.
Okay, so, where are we?
Miscellaneous.
Miscellaneous unfinished business.
There's two things. One, as we heard, Sharon is resigning, the Meekers are moving out of town. There's been a request that we provide some kind of recognition for all the
Yes.
stuff that David Meeker has done for the town. There's been a couple of suggestions, so I thought we could talk about that for a few minutes, what we'd like to do.
Okay?
But he needs some kind of, well, he doesn't need, I think we need to offer him.
We need to offer
some
him.
kind of recognition, so I thought we could have a conversation about that. There's been some things suggested. We have the Volunteer of the Year Award, maybe we give him a lifetime achievement like we gave Sharon 2 years ago. When were we gonna give it? 16, 2 years ago. So we could do that, but
No, I think that's a good suggestion.
maybe a certificate and a,
Plaque or some kind?
well, we've got the plaque for the volunteer, we could do it for 2018. Usually we do it in December at the volunteer recognition thing,
Yeah.
so maybe we can give him his early,
Yeah, I think that would be a
even
great
in
idea.
August sometime, so, but that's a thought. So maybe a certificate and kind of a trophy like we gave before, lifetime achievement for 2018 to David Meeker, Lauren David Meeker.
So can we put that together?
You want
Huh?
to add him to the big,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can
No, that's a
do
good
it
idea.
if you want.
Sure.
I'll just go up and drop it off and have him,
okay.
and we'll get it.
And get a certificate, right?
And we usually do a little trophy, there's a cost to that.
Yes.
So, but I can do it, or the town secretary can do it, either way. It's up
I
to
don't know
you.
where it goes.
Okay, I'll do it.
They do.
Will I have to go, do you bring it to Tux?
Yep.
I have to go anywhere, so I can.
Okay, okay.
Sure.
Okay, so if you can do just bring the whole plaque, and he'll put in a new thing for 2018 for the lifetime one.
Mhm.
And also, I don't know if Karen has any of those spare trophies. You can ask her, but you have them do a new plaque for the bottom,
Okay.
and then you can deal with the certificate.
I like that.
So we'll invite him to a meeting at some point, present it to him.
Yep.
So everybody in the audience, shh, don't tell them about this.
People.
So, we'll
Of
have
course,
this as a
the
problem.
fact that it's now on YouTube,
Yeah.
Well, does he watch YouTube? I don't know if he watches it on YouTube, so.
It's looking at you up there.
So, it'd be nice if it was a surprise.
is there another thing?
Yes, there's another thing.
Another thing.
Yes.
Another thing.
Oh, I bet I know what it is.
What is it?
Start with a T.
TVPP.
No.
No?
Pass that one down to Denise. That one's for you. And-
Yeah, that goes into these.
Those two, Town Center Vision Committee.
Yes, the TCVC. The TCVC
Wow.
has been doing lots of work.
You're not kidding.
We did an analysis of the 9 RFPs that came in. And we did use the criteria in the RFP to rank each of the proposals. And then what you've got is also that scoring sheet for everybody, and then a little graph in terms of where they all came in terms of their numerical ranking, and in terms of the ranking by evaluators. So that's what you have in front of you. So recommendations in order are, number 1 is AG, number 2 is CMK. Hold on. Number 3 is it Harriman?
Yes.
And then the 4th was La Valley Wrestling. That's the one that's,
Right.
it's kind of out of order. But those are the 4. So depending on what the board would like to do, we can invite them in to give a short presentation so you can meet them. We've kind of met AG before, but the other ones we probably
No, I think.
have a conversation with them. So if we can ask the town secretary to invite them all to a meeting, since time is of the essence, I would rather we not wait until the next meeting. If we can meet sometime later this week, hopefully, maybe, or beginning of next week. And I'm not looking, personally, I'm not looking for a 2-hour presentation for each one. I'm looking for like 10 minutes.
You're inviting how many? The top 3?
The rec committee is recommending 4.